लालपन हट गया कि नहीं? बस ठीक हो गया।
But I once again extend you warm welcome to this forum.
I'm a deputy to offer a context setting presentation.
विद्युत सचिव भारत सरकार, मंचासीन सभी महानुभावगण, इस सत्र में उपस्थित विभिन्न निवेशक कंपनियों के वरिष्ठ पदाधिकारी एवं अन्य प्रतिनिधिगण, केंद्र सरकार तथा राज्य सरकार के विभिन्न संगठनों से पधारे सभी वरिष्ठ पदाधिकारीगण, एकेडमिया में आपने जो विश्वास व्यक्त किया है उसके लिए भी मैं आप सबका आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। हम सब जानते हैं कि राष्ट्र के विकास के लिए ऊर्जा एक मूलभूत संसाधन है और विकास की धुरी है। आज तक हम लोग कोल, ऑयल, नेचुरल गैस जैसे परंपरागत ईंधनों पर आधारित ऊर्जा उत्पादन के परंपरागत स्रोतों पर निर्भर रहे हैं, लेकिन इन सब परंपरागत ऊर्जा स्रोतों के माध्यम से हमने अपने पर्यावरण को भी प्रदूषित करने में भी अभूतपूर्व योगदान दिया है। विश्व स्तर पर ग्रीन हाउस गैस इमिशन के आंकड़े ये बताते हैं कि इसका लगभग 1/3 योगदान परंपरागत ऊर्जा स्रोतों के द्वारा होता है। इस के प्रति अपनी संवेदना व्यक्त करते हुए पंचाव्रत की परिकल्पना की थी और भारत के लिए एक राष्ट्रीय एजेंडा और लक्ष्य भी निर्धारित किया है। सन 2070 तक नेट जीरो इमिशन सुनिश्चित करना, सन 2030 तक 500 गीगावाट की नॉन फॉसिल ऊर्जा क्षमता का विकास, पर्यावरण संवेदनशील, क्लीन और ग्रीन एनर्जी से ऊर्जीकृत करने का, और इसके लिए भारत जो एक पर्यावरणीय संकट हमारे सामने है उससे निदान भी मिले और विकास के लिए आवश्यक ऊर्जा की उपलब्धता भी सुनिश्चित हो। ऐसी ऊर्जा की उपलब्धता,
marketing, industry, and a lot more. Please welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Thank you. Can I have the slides? Pleasure to be here in Uttar Pradesh, and I must tell you, India is not new to me, nor is Uttar Pradesh. I keep visiting Uttar Pradesh, and as I was coming into Uttar Pradesh today, even today morning, we can very clearly see the change that is happening in terms of infrastructure. And what I am going to talk here for the next few minutes, Danfoss is a Denmark-based company. We are headquartered in Denmark. But I am going to talk to you more about what Danfoss has been doing in India, including in Uttar Pradesh, and how we can work together with the stakeholders in Uttar Pradesh in this growth engine, because as a business we are interested in business, and in this growth engine we do see a lot of good opportunities for us. What I must also emphasize is that as Danfoss, today sustainability and climate change is a very good buzzword for everyone, and everyone is looking at that kind of an investment and that kind of technologies to build upon. Danfoss is a 90-year-old company almost, but from day one Danfoss has been working on energy efficiency and sustainability, and that is a part of the DNA of the company. And you will see, I'll show a few examples of what we have done specifically in India and how those examples are much more relevant today in Uttar Pradesh as we are looking at a lot more investments coming into the state. What you see on the slide there, the picture there is not of a factory somewhere in Denmark. That's the factory in Chennai, which is a LEED Platinum certified factory. India Just last week, we completed 25 years of operations in India. In a 90-year-old company, of course, we have been present in India for many years, but as Danfoss, we have completed 25 years. And what you see there is that we have already a large footprint, including in Uttar Pradesh. We have 4+ factories, 3,504 employees, and we are spread all across the country through our distribution network, which is about 130+. And we are present in about 56 states, and our growth plan that we have over the next decade is how can we reach more and more cities in the country, because we are not looking at a state-specific trajectory, because we know that India is urbanizing, and there are a lot more urban Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities coming up, and that's where we see the development happening, which is very much in line with the investment that we see in the state. What I mentioned about the factory, this is just to give you a number on the tons of carbon dioxide footprint that we have reduced in one factory in India. We have 4 factories. This one factory, we are already validating the numbers. We are replicating this in all the other factories. What you see there is almost 95% of our energy is from renewables. We have a pond within the factory. We have an energy storage and electrification, which using Danfoss own technologies, I will talk about it with some examples of what we have done with the industry there. So it's something that we can do if we have the will to do. As Danfoss, you must be wondering, what does Danfoss offer as a technology? Danfoss is basically in the space of energy efficiency, like I mentioned, and in the space of energy efficiency, we are broken down into 3 verticals. The first vertical is climate solutions, of which I am a part of. In climate solutions, anything that is needed from -50 degrees to +20 degrees, Danfoss has the technologies to support you. Any air conditioning manufacturer, including the air conditioning that you see within this room today, be it Blue Star, Carrier, any major manufacturer uses Danfoss technologies. We are basically it is variable frequency drives. Wherever there is a motor, a drive can improve the efficiency of the motor, and Danfoss is a very major player. What you see there is we are number 2 globally. In India, in some of these verticals, we are number 1, but globally we are number 2 in both of these segments. The third one is power solutions. This is basically a hydraulics division. What it does is, all your off-road vehicles, be it the tractors that you see, be it Mahindra, John Deere, Tafe, all of it, what you see, the agricultural fields, in and around the spaces that you see, the cranes, the hydraulics components within those systems are done by Danfoss, and we are a major supplier to all of these players. Right from morning when we wake up, when we use a toothpaste to brush our teeth, to the time we sleep and switch on our AC, Danfoss has a role to play in every stage. In transportation, in energy, in the fuel that we use, in everything Danfoss has a role to play, and we are supporting that kind of an infrastructure development. And what we do see, I think the ambassador mentioned about how it is just not important to develop infrastructure, but develop it sustainably. What you see on the slide there is that there is a lot of infrastructure that is coming up, be it bullet trains, be it metros, be it the highways that are being built up. A lot of renewable energy is coming into play. A lot of data centers are increasingly being built within the country. A lot of electric vehicles because of the electrification journey that we see. Food and food loss is a major driver for India. And all of these contribute to the carbon footprint within the country. And through technologies, we can reduce this carbon footprint. And after this, what I will show you is, I am not going to show you about examples of what we have done elsewhere. I will show you some examples within India where we have been able to kind of set global benchmarks. This is an example within the agriculture space where we have worked with farmers in Tamil Nadu, and over a time of about 8 years, we have been able to triple the income of banana farmers in Tamil Nadu. And this is not by increasing the productivity of the banana plantation, it is just by ensuring that the produce that is produced in the field is reached to the right target destinations with minimum loss. We have connected them to markets like Europe, and today they are able to, the farmers are able to directly link up with markets in Europe, and we have seen tripling the income at the farm gate level. Of course, this is one example. We have also done this example with, let's say, cold storages in Agra, potato farmers in West Bengal, and many more. But this is an area where I believe that we can work with the stakeholders in Uttar Pradesh. The other one is the dairy sector. We have been working with Amul since the days of Dr. Kurian, right from 1967, where our founder and Dr. Kurian discussed on how to develop the dairy sector in India. That journey has continued, where we work very closely with Amul in terms of developing products that are applicable in India, which can enable reducing the energy consumption, because dairy is a product which needs cooling right from the time the milk is coming out of the cow till the time you consume the milk on in your glass. So every unit of energy that you can reduce helps Amul to save so much cost. And here it is important because every paisa that a cooperative saves gets back into the pocket of the farmers. So it's a joint cooperation that we continue to work with Amul. And what I understand from the government is that the National Dairy Plan is supposed to be rolled out, where Uttar Pradesh is going to be a major partner in that, and that's an area where I believe that we can jointly work in developing sustainable technologies, reducing the energy footprint, and giving more buck to the farmer. Metros, we already saw the importance of transportation that the Chief Secretary mentioned. There is no metro in the country which does not have tankless technology. I mean, that's a statement that I can very clearly and proudly make. And we work with all metros to ensure that not only they are seamless, but the stations are operated in a healthy, with a very good indoor air quality and efficiently. Hotels and hospitals are another area where we have a large footprint within the country, where we are working with almost every major commercial building infrastructure that is there in making them energy efficient. We work with the stakeholders to make them understand why the technology that they use should be energy efficient. Airports, Uttar Pradesh is an area where we know that the government is looking at developing more and more airports to improve the connectivity within the state. So that's an area where we can clearly work on in making the airports not only the most energy efficient, but also the most sustainable and climate friendly. Of course, Uttar Pradesh is a landlocked state, but this is an example just to show you that electrification is a very, very strong arm for Danfoss. This is a new technology that we have, and we are working in terms of not only electrifying the marine sector, but the next example is something that you would like, where we have the technology to develop the traction systems for buses, about 70,000 buses in the country. We have already worked with Ashok Leyland. The electric buses that are flying in Chennai use the Danfoss traction systems. So are the buses in Gujarat. So when we are looking at those kind of technologies to come in Uttar Pradesh, Danfoss will be a player, because the partners that come in are players with whom we are already working on. With that, I think I will come to the end, basically to say that we have the technologies to kind of make the journey together, and we would like Uttar Pradesh to develop sustainably, and Danfoss is willing to look at joining with the stakeholders in
as an export and logistics manager. Please welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here on the stage. Thank you very much. We are facing a new agenda. Decarbonization and production of green energies are of utmost importance to make an independence of fossil fuels. Take control of your own energy production and make a tremendous impact on the climate. It's a good business, and our solutions mean new income streams, creation of new jobs, and improvement of the livelihood of many families also in rural areas. The need of energy is showing an explosive growth rate. Why not make it green? Our honored ambassador, Venezuela, mentioned during his introduction that we have made a green strategic partnership, India and Denmark, and there's many similarities between India and Denmark. One thing is that we are both very cultivated countries with a lot of companies. And if we look to India today, your policy is being published within the Green Growth Program and the coming journey for decarbonation. They are very much alike the path that we have been following in Denmark for many years. So why not take the advantage of our experience and our well-proven technologies, making your journey a success like the one we have experienced. In the late 80s, our Minister for the Environment banned burning of straw on our fields. What to do, how to handle.
And to be speaking on a platform where there's such wonderful people like Shri Reddy, Shri Mukesh Mehramji, and Shri Zabeer Singh. Today there were a couple of topics that came up, topics that were close to my heart. First, we started by the lady who opened the floor, Miss Vidya Bharti. Miss Vidya Bharti said something that today for the first time I was aware that we could do it. जब भी आप दुनिया में यूपी के बारे में सुनते हैं, there are mixed reviews. पर आज मैंने पहले बार सुना है from Uttar Pradesh to Uttar Pradesh. And on that note, let us start this discussion to discuss this and say how are we going to invest, me included, in changing what UP tourism will be.
Mahindra Holidays. From Sonia's question that you asked me about what UP can do. So, just to give you a background a little bit, we are about, we are the largest vacation ownership company in Asia. We do not have too much of a presence right now in UP, even though we are the largest. Get the influx of tourists, is getting the infrastructure, and is getting the airports, and is getting the flights to enable tourism finally. So from my point of view, my company's point of view, what we really need to do from a tourism perspective in UP is leverage exactly the subject that we have, the heritage and the spiritual tourism that is actually abundant in the state. UP is already the first or the second highest domestic tourist visitations that UP has. But what it does not have is, we do not have enough branded hotels. We have only 6% of the branded hotels of this country in UP. Even though our population here is 25 crores, for example, right? We have 4 airports. We do not have enough connectivity internationally and nationally. In the country, of course, other than what we have as established in UP, other than the established destinations like Varanasi, like Lucknow, like Agra, which are world famous. And remember, 2 of the top 10 most visited, ticketed monuments in India are in UP. But we still fail to attract many more visitors, which we can do. In my view, with the new tourism policy that the government of India has, the UP tourism policy which is coming up, I am told, and there is a lot of incentives for investors like us to come in and spend our investments. So our plan, by the way, is to invest in inventory, alternate accommodation, and move from what is, what everybody talks about destinations.
The CSR and Mrs. Suri's daughter has been building the destinations, not just the hotels. Can you start with that and then introduce us to the level, please?
Thank you very much. Namaskar, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister Sir, and Devyar Sajjano, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real proud moment for me because हम भी उत्तर प्रदेश से हैं और it's a great honor for me to be here standing in front of this august audience. First and foremost, I would like to thank the UP Global Investors Summit organizers, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के विजन, आदरणीय योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के नेतृत्व में, Honorable Tourism Minister and our dear officers and August gathering, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। उत्तर प्रदेश, local heritage, art and culture, the local cuisine, and wherever we are across the landscape of the country, we have done that. हालांकि यहाँ पे उत्तर प्रदेश में हमारा कोई अभी ऑपरेशन होटल नहीं है, मगर चित्रकूट में मैडम ने कुछ साल पहले इन्वेस्ट किया था, और आने वाले समय में और ये व्यवस्था देख कर के हमारी जो संस्कृति है, our culture, our heritage, I think UP has everything to offer, from wildlife to nature to every element of what we want to offer, and sky's the limit, because I think, as my colleague Santosh just mentioned, with the right investment that is coming in upgrading the infrastructure, creating of airports, creation of hotel stays, and it's not only in main cities of UP, but in the other cities as well, lesser known destinations. My childhood, I used to go for picnics to a place called Bithur. Bithur is also not many people would have heard of, and I think it had some great amount of alligator farming, and there used to be these alligators that used to go and have fun and watching it. From a spiritual tourism, religious tourism, wellness destination, wildlife tourism, I think UP has every element what India offers in different states. And I think we all need to come together as partners and create the best platform of opportunities towards the surge that Uttar Pradesh truly deserves. And I think we can go leaps and bounds in making Uttar Pradesh the best state where the real investment is going to come in. And we are very confident that we will also be having our footprint very soon.
Sorry to interrupt. I would like to know, जैसे आपने आइस हॉकी स्टार्ट किया है लेह लद्दाख में, आपने सुना है इंडिया आइस हॉकी के चैंपियंस बनते हैं, इन लोगों ने स्टार्ट किया है आइस हॉकी के।
Thank you so much.
आप यहाँ पे क्या करने वाले हैं? Can you tell us how heritage and culture will make the change over here? How can you bring our heritage and culture to bring up a place like Bithur, which I love also?
So I think thank you for reminding. हम लोगों ने द्रास कारगिल, जो कि इंडिया के मैप में एक अलग मुकाम से जाना जाता है, हम लोगों ने वहाँ पे एक पोलो मैच भी किया था। हम लोगों ने लेह में आइस हॉकी भी करी, बॉम्बे में हम लोगों ने डब्बा वाला का रेस किया, खजुराहो मध्य प्रदेश में हम लोगों ने तिपैया थॉन करी, कश्मीर में श्रीनगर में हम लोगों ने शिकारा थॉन किया, और इस तरीके से हम यूपी में कुछ एक्साइटिंग और बेहतरीन परफॉर्मेंस के साथ हम लोग आर्ट एंड कल्चर का रिफ्लेक्शन, आई थिंक देयर इज सो मच ऑफ, चाहे ये शिव विवाह हो, शिव और पार्वती का विवाह हो, या फिर हमारे राम जन्मभूमि की नेतृत्व में जो आयोजन होता है अयोध्या में, हम उस प्रकार के कोई बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके के फेस्टिवल्स क्रिएट करेंगे एंड अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्रिएट करेंगे, दैट हम सब लोकल कम्युनिटी को उसमें प्रोत्साहन दें और उसमें पार्टिसिपेट करें।
Endpoint for any decision making. Decision making happens on lot many things. It requires a resilient ecosystem across the entire continuum of the value chain. Whether you talk about the IPR protection or the R&D capabilities that need to be done, and especially on the fast track of the approvals, the consent to establish, to consent to operate, because every dollar invested has a multiplier value. So thank you so very much of giving the vision of the Government of India. There is a life beyond PLI, there is a life beyond fiscal incentives, and I think we are on the right path. And the UP electronic policy is the right direction to basically talk about more tangible, intangible, as well as the hand-holding of the future investment that is going to come in the state. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have our last speaker for the panel, who is the chairman of Indian Cellular and Electronic Association, Mr. Pankaj Mahendru. He is the chairman for the Apex industry body representing the entire electronic sector in India, with a special focus on development of mobile handset and its component ecosystem. Mr. Mahendru has very strong intent, quest and determination towards establishment of $1 trillion electronic industry by 2032 through establishment of global scale manufacturing ecosystem in India related to the entire value chain. UPLC, as Mr. Tripathi has announced in the beginning, is going to sign an MOU with ICA to bring in more investment across electronic manufacturing value chain and in promoting the state of UP across the various global platforms. Now I would now request Mr. Mahindru to speak about his experience, the feedback he gets from the various investment bodies to basically inform the panel here, the Honorable Minister here, how we can catalyze the mobile manufacturing revolution in India, and especially on becoming a 300 billion electronic manufacturing powerhouse by 2026. Mr. Mahindru, please.
Honorable Minister and my friends, the dais and the friends in the audience, let me ask you, let me test the knowledge of the audience. In the December of 2022, can somebody tell me what was the export of mobile phones from India? Except the people sitting in the front row. What was the export of mobile phones from India? We'll all remember that a few years back, and some of us even carry that impression now, that mobile phones are mostly imported from China. And that was the case in 2014-15. 80% of the phones used to be imported from China. And I'll answer my question myself. In the month of December, the export of mobile phones was crossed 10,000 crores. And in this year, which is the financial year, we'll be crossing about 70,000, 75,000 crores of exports of mobile phones. We've come a long way, and as Sanjeet was talking about transformation, mobile phone manufacturing ecosystem has definitely had a transformation. And this journey started in December 2014. And very strangely, the motivation for this came from one Mr. Park, who was at that time the MD of Samsung. And the industry was in a bad shape because Nokia ecosystem had closed down. And he nudged us that, you can't only have Samsung manufacturing in India, there's only 2 plants left. So what are we doing about it? And a great motivation came from the Honorable Prime Minister also, because he laid out a very specific target. And in March 2015, he made a commitment in the Parliament that whatever has happened in moving from 90 billion to 300 billion, well, that is the target which Government of India has taken up. And because we are mostly importing CBUs like laptops, hardware, so complete turnaround has to happen. Strategic electronics, industrial electronics, LED, all these sectors have to kick in, and policies some policies are in place, because UP is not just a state, it epitomizes India itself. In our whole lifetime, we've had only 5 MOUs, and 2 were with UP. Third one will happen today, and the situation improvement is on the ground. Now, I think the 300 billion final product output will make India a major power. And I think as we have seen how the mobile phone ecosystem has attracted the supply chain, same thing is going to happen in other sectors also. In mobile phones, as the Samsung MD mentioned, that even display assembly has started happening. Display assembly, in fact, now most companies are taking display from India. So the charger industry, battery pack industry, headsets, display, connectors, all these industries have got attracted to India and are now going to scale up. Training for others, right? And end-to-end semiconductor ecosystem can only happen when you have all the elements. What Amrit mentioned that, KTMP is very important, yes, it is very important. Design is very important, but all these things have to fire together. I think UP first has to focus on creating the manpower for semiconductors. And the product design companies, the homegrown product design companies, because it's not only about CPUs and GPUs, specific integrated circuits are very important. And they are not so complex. Small teams of 50 to 100 can put out such products. But how will the manpower get trained? You have to have fabs on the ground, you have to have fabs which are training these people. And I think as we put together a center of excellence for hearable, wearables and this thing, we are now looking at a very serious center of excellence. As we said, we take UP very seriously. UP has to develop in its entirety. You cannot sector. It is going to be the Shenzhen of the world. The entire electronic industry is going to be housed here. Mantriji, you would not have to put that slide. These are operating in UP because everybody in the world will be operating in UP. So you won't have to put up that slide. This is our vision, and that is the resolve with which we are working relentlessly. And I must say that the UP administration and the UP leadership and the Honorable Prime Minister has always been very, very supportive. He is, the bureaucracy has been extremely supportive. We are actually quite surprised by
India's global hub for electronic manufacturing, government of UP. With that, we would basically UP Electronics Corporation as well as with ICEA. So may I request Mr. Akshay Tripathi and Mr. Mahindru to